Welcome to your Partner in Success Radio with your host, Denise Griffitts. Quick question. Are you looking to elevate your brand? Meet the Blaine Group, led by CEO Devin Blaine. With award-winning public relations strategies, they drive results across various industries. In fact, a large percentage of our guests arrive here on this podcast thanks to Devin Blaine's exceptional outreach. Imagine boosting your business by 300% in just 1 year. She's done it. That's the power of the Blaine Group. So whether you're a startup or an established brand or a new author, they'll help you connect with your audience and achieve your goals. Are you ready to start out? Visit blainegroupinc.com and unlock your brand's potential today. And by the way, tell her I sent you. Good morning and welcome to your Partner in Success Radio. I am your host, Denise Griffitts, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today and every week. This podcast is ranked in the top 2% of the most popular podcasts globally. And honestly, it's all because of my truly incredible guests. And our topic today is From Prison to Pen, G.C. Brown's journey of redemption and writing. He has a fascinating story. After spending 16 years in federal prison, G.C. emerged with a powerful perspective, claiming that his time behind bars was the best thing that ever happened to him. And in this episode, we're going to dive into his remarkable journey of redemption and transformation. We're going to explore his passion for writing, which blossomed during his confinement, and how he honed his skills to become a published author. He's going to share the stories behind his works, including his upcoming book, SNIFF, all capital letters, SNIFF. I have that book on my desk. And I think it's going to launch on Amazon just in a week or two in November. I'll find out from him. We're also going to discuss his life before prison, the charges that led to his sentence, and what life looks like for him now as he embraces new opportunities with his family and brand new twins. GC, good morning and welcome to your Partner in Success Radio. Thank you, by the way, for sending me your book, and I do have it in front of me. But
Great.
before we dive in, can you share a little bit about yourself and how you like to show up in the world? And congratulations on your new babies.
Thank you. Love being here. So I grew up in the Midwest, small farm, Northwest Indiana. I spent the years developing work ethic from, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. The farm life never stops, 365, no holidays. Cattle has to be fed, fields have to be maintained, so forth. So I learned a work ethic early on. I quickly grew out of the small town. My family moved to Arizona my sophomore year of school. I went from a 400 person high school to a 5,000 person high school. And a matter of the decision was made and we were moved in a few weeks. My stepfather, who was my father from 2 years old up, got hurt on the job and took a disability position out in Arizona. So that's why we moved. Um, Played some baseball, got some scholarships, decided that I wanted to work. I was tired of being poor. Growing up on a farm, you don't have a lot of the things that some of the other kids have. Looking back, the farm was probably the best thing in my life at that time. But so I moved, or the family moved. We graduated. I didn't go on to play sports. I got to working. I've done everything from I had started off detailing cars and owned sandwich shops, and that turned into mobile homes, and mobile homes turned into developing real estate. Developing real estate turned into a couple of software companies, a flower company in Quito, Ecuador, the diamond trade in Africa, property from Miami to Hawaii. I got really good at developing business, and I wasn't so good at paying taxes. So fast forward, I got to the diamond trade in Africa, and that deal started off. A guy calling me, he was actually a mortgage broker for me, called me and said that he had some diamonds sitting in Africa that he just needed to pay the taxes on to bring them back into the United States. Said he needed $130,000. He was a friend, who I thought was a friend. Been doing my mortgages for a couple of years. We'd gotten close, our wives, or I not a wife, I wasn't married, but girlfriend at the time, fiance, who I had a child with, my oldest daughter. Their the wives became friendly, so it was kind of a friendly situation. He asked for the 130,000. I gave it to him on a handshake. 4 months later, no phone calls, no return of money, so forth. So I was kind of burned out on the South Florida. I'm living in Miami at the time, or Palm Beaches. We just moved out of Miami and moved 40 minutes north up to the Palm Beach County. I was a little tired, burned out on the real estate. I said, let me just go chase down this money. So I went and lived in Cairo, Egypt for 9 weeks. It's got down to, from there, I went to Democratic Republic of Congo, lived there for 6 weeks. At the end of the day, I was down about, almost $600,000. So the 130 turned into another 470 that I had lost, getting tricked, buying the wrong diamonds, buying fake diamonds, buying money being stolen. Everything in the world that could go wrong went wrong. But I recognized what the industry was worth and where the industry could go, and where that I had a part in it. So I kind of stuck through it, and took the last $70,000 that I was willing to put into it, and turned it into a ton of money. So the United States sees me go from developing real estate, software companies, flower companies, all of that. All of a sudden, I'm coming in through JFK up there in New York, and I'm bringing 1,000 carats, 1,500 carats, 1,800 carats, 500 carats. I'm bringing in diamonds every other week, parcels. The government assumed that I was bringing in blood diamonds, or what they call conflict diamonds, and they investigated me. Were investigating me for 2 years, unbeknownst to me. I had no idea they were following me around everywhere. Same hotels, same restaurants, same nightclubs, same everything. Everywhere I was, there they were. And like I said, I had no idea. So fast forward, investigation goes on for a couple of years. They come up with nothing. All of my stones and diamonds had all the necessary paperwork, all the United Nations documents, everything was in line. In fact, I never brought personally a diamond through the United States. I used a bonds agent to bring every single stone into the United States to make sure that all my paperwork was legit and that I was doing things correctly. So they went back to their supervisors. Hey, this guy's clean, but here's some of these tax offenses. Charged me with some misdemeanor tax offenses, money that I made in another country, and tried to get me to take a plea. I did not take that plea. The statute says willful intent. I had no willful intent. I'd had the same tax attorneys in Coral Gables for 10 plus years, long before I'd ever got involved in the diamonds. I had no willful intent. I said, I'm not taking the plea. Chose to fight them. They superseded my indictment from misdemeanors, turned stuff to felonies. I'm sorry, willfully, they said I evaded my taxes. So they charged me with tax evasion, and then $480,000. Took the $480,000 they said that I willfully evaded on, which was not true. They turned that into wire fraud and mail fraud. And how they did that, anything that I used that $480,000 on, which I owned all kinds of real estate, uh, anything, payments, down payments, the monthly payments, the insurance, anything where I used that $480,000 that they rightfully, or that they thought was rightfully theirs, they turned it into wire fraud and mail fraud, and considered the gains, because I evaded, they considered the 480 grand ill-gotten gains. So they charged me with the wire fraud and mail fraud, which carried 20-year maximums, versus just the original charge that they charged me with was 3 misdemeanors that carried up to a year in prison. Like I said, I did not take that plea, and with the new charges, it carried up to 20 years. But I knew that I wasn't. I knew that I hadn't done what they said that I did, so I chose to go to trial. Soon discovered that they're unbeatable, and I should have seen that going in. This company prints its own money, has won 2 world wars, and they have a 97% conviction rate. Does anybody believe that our government gets things right 97% of the time? No. But that's the numbers. They're unbeatable when you face them in that courtroom. Uh, it's not kid gloves. They lie, they cheat, they make up things. They are allowed to do whatever they want. A lot of people don't know that. The prosecutors there's nothing that can happen to a prosecutor. They can get in there and say anything they want. When you take the government or anybody to trial, it's whoever tells the best story. So we get to trial, just to not to get too sidetracked, but we get to trial. They have 53 boxes of discovery behind their table, and it's my mortgages, and it's my bank statements, and it's my cell phone statements. It's all my case fit into one box, but they put 53 boxes of discovery up there. And on the front of every single box, it had my name and Bloody Diamonds as the name of the case. They never charged me for a single diamond offense. There were no charges they could charge me for the diamond offense. But in order to create a picture, which they did, in order to create a picture to the jury, they will paint, and it's unbelievable what they do. Long story short, I lost. They gave me 20 years. I thought that I would beat it on appeal. I did not. I ended up doing 16 years for something that I never did. One, and two, even if I would have done the crime, it didn't call for that kind of time. A lot of these white collar guys you see, I'll give you an example. The guys from Enron years and years and years ago stole billions of dollars from people. People killed themselves over that deal, and they got the same sentence I got. They got 20 years. That's the max. That's what they got.
Mm,
A
I
couple of them got
remember
more than,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got the same exact sentence. I lived across the hall from Robert Shapiro, the big attorney that went in. It's funny, his restitution and fine was $480 million. He lived across the hall from me. Mine's 480,000. He got 17 years and I got 20. We both went to trial.
Wasn't he the OJ attorney, OJ Simpson? Or
I
am I
don't,
thinking of somebody else?
no, that's somebody different. He was the big
Okay.
Ponzi scheme. He stole almost a $500 million from his clients.
Oh my
But he
God.
got 17 years, Denise, and I got 20 for 480 grand, which they took the 480 grand and turned that into $2.4 million. All of my entire every piece of paper leading up to my sentencing said 480 grand. Nothing, not a penny more. $480,000. I get to sentencing, it's $2.4 million. They just raised prices and said that I had missed payments, and I'd never had a late payment, never missed a payment my entire life until they put me in prison. And then they turned around and charged me for having late payments and not paying my mortgages. So it's the tricks that this government, not a lot of people know it. And I didn't know it either. I was sitting on this side of the fence. I thought that or sitting on the other side of the fence, I thought that everybody that was in prison belonged in prison and everybody got what they had coming. That's actually not the case at all. And I wish that I could say that I was just one, that I was the only one in there. But there are this conspiracy law that they have out there. All they have to have for conspiracy, we're the only country in the world that has it. We're the only one that has the law, and that's why we lead in incarceration. But the conspiracy law, that you just have to have a couple of people get up on the stand and say anything, and there's no statements don't have to be checked. You don't have to. There's the justice system is unbelievable, and we're watching that live in today's some of the political stuff going on in today's world. It just you throw whatever
Lawfare.
against the
Hmm.
wall. Yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
It is. And I knew a bit about your story because we had a pre-interview and you had shared a bit with me. I had no idea it was my stomach hurts. I had no idea it was this god awful. Excuse the language, but that's bad. So,
And Denise, they sent me to, here's the worst part. My prosecutor did not want me. She knew that there were a lot of mistakes made, and she knew that there was a good chance of this being overturned on appeal. I got sent to Miami to the prison there in Miami, which is where I'm from, where my attorneys were and everything. 3 weeks later, after being moved into the prison and settled in, she has me kicked out and removed and sent to a gang unit. And now, mind you, I've never been in trouble. I hadn't had a speeding ticket in 10 years. She gets me sent to a gang unit in Texas. Texas said that I was they filed a thing that said they felt that I was unsafe in the Miami area because that's where the trial was. My my trial was a white collar trial. There was no,
Mhm.
but there was none of that. She just used it as an excuse to get me away from my friends, family, and my attorneys, and just made it as difficult as she possibly could. They moved me to a gang unit, so I never been in trouble my entire life. I landed in a federal institution in a gang unit in Texas. So yeah,
That's
I
none of
went
it.
through it.
Yeah, you did. So, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, I'm seriously, I'm clutching my stomach. I'm not joking. I'm looking for my Tums bottle and it's empty. I may not make it through the
I buy them by
day.
the six pack.
I do too. I when I say it's empty, it's got dust in the bottom of it.
I know,
Don't
I know
worry.
exactly the dust you were talking about. Believe me.
I may have to put a little bit of water in there and just drink what's left in there. But tell me now, I mean, now that you've shared this riveting story, that's I'm going to use that word instead of the one I really want to use. Why do you say, because you said this to me before and I read it again here, there, and yonder, your PR person shared some of the story with me too, but why do you feel like, I don't even know how to say this. How do why do you think that that 16 years, you tell me. I can't even talk right now.
Well, why do I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me?
Yeah, I
Uh,
I can't even say it. I mean, that to me makes no sense at all.
and it's actually the probably the truest thing I've ever said. It changed my life. Now, just because I wasn't doing what the government said I was doing doesn't mean I wasn't doing things that should have landed me in prison anyway. Maybe a moral prison. I wasn't doing illegal things, but definitely immoral things. I was a young guy making a lot of money in a city with a lot of things to do. Now, I wasn't doing the drugs and the alcohol and all of that, but the women and the cars and the cheating and the hanging out and the party, not partying in a sense with the drugs and alcohol, but just I, I got too big for my britches, and I still my mom still says it today. I got too big for my britches, and I was headed down the wrong path. I had two daughters out of wedlock, two different women. I wasn't doing the right things by these women, and these women thought that I was amazing. And still to this day, I've spoken to each of them this week. As a matter of fact, it was through text, but I spoke to them both the entire time I was away. They were there, a phone call away if I needed anything. They were there. It's just those were the type of women that I had and I was just doing the wrong things. I wasn't doing the right things. So when I got to prison, it took me a minute, but 5, 6 years of settling in. One day I'm laying on my bunk and I look back at my life, and my whole life, even though it sounds like it was this big glamorous, everything was great all the time, it wasn't. I was constantly it was one mess after another. I'm a Gemini, so once I create something and the creativity is done and it's on to the day to day, the monotony of the regular, just keeping stuff together, the day to day. I'm not good at that stuff. I never was. I like to create and move. So but I decided that there in prison, I look back at my life and everything that I had done, I had always been able to get to the to the top of. It didn't matter what it was, whether it was sports, whether it was business, whether it didn't matter, friendships, the girl, the whatever it was, I was always able to get to the top, and that came from work ethic, tenacity, and just staying in the moment until I didn't. And when I got bored of it, like I said, I would just go on and do something else, and I'd leave a mess, and it was just nonstop. So there in prison, I decided that I've gotten to the top of everything I've ever done. Why not just be the best human being that I can possibly be. So I I only set out two goals in prison, and I put heart, mind, body, and soul every moment into two things. I said I was going to be the best human being that I could possibly be, and that I was going to be a New York Times best-selling author. And not just a New York Times best-selling author. I said I'm going to top those lists. So those are the two goals that I set out to do, and that's what I did. Working on the bestsellers list now, but I can't say that I'm the best human being that's ever walked the planet, but I'm a worlds different than who I used to be. I value things different. I look at things different. I appreciate it. I understand that it's not all me that's making things happen. It's the universe. For God, it's me. I know some people don't like the God thing. For me, it's God. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Um, it's just I decided to make those changes, and I'm working hard to make sure that I never lose sight of that ever again. Because life is so much more amazing when I don't have all of the other things behind me, and I'm not going from one relationship to another, or the cheating, or any of the stuff that you do as a young guy uh, living in a city like that. I forgot my Midwest values. I forgot the guy that grew up on that small farm.
Amazing story. And I love that you set those goals. Tell me about the New York Times. Are you there?
Well,
Are you close? Because I mean, you've written, I think, one book. I think you have
well,
another one coming. Tell me.
yeah.
Well, I want to back up just a little bit. I'm stumbling over my own 2 feet here because I mean, your story is just so fascinating. Why did you decide to write a book while you were incarcerated?
Well, it was the only decision I had in front of me. So when I left, let me just give you a quick sentence. So when I left the streets, at the same time, I was running three different companies on three different continents all at the same time. I did it with myself, Monica, who was the mother of my, or who is the mother of my youngest daughter, Lily, and I did it with an assistant. That's all it was. It was three people, three businesses, all successful on three different continents, three different time zones. Just chaos. I operate best in that chaos. So when I left the streets, I had the software companies, the flower company, the African diamond trade was going on, real estate everywhere, houses everywhere, fixer uppers everywhere, crews everywhere doing different things for the real estate. Land in prison. There's none of that. It's just the same gray walls. It's the same people. It's the same smell of defeat. It's the TV that never shuts off. It's the inmates that never stop talking or stop fighting. It's the riots. It's the violence. Nothing was the same in my life. And so I started going a little crazy. So, and when I say crazy, a little crazy, it was crazy. There's no other way to say it. There was nothing for me to do. So I go to my case manager and I said, "Hey, listen, I gotta have something to do. What can I do from federal prison to make money?" He said, "Nothing. There's the only thing you can do from here is write a book." And he kind of scoffed at it when he said it. Oh, you can write a book, but his feet up on the desk, files everywhere, laying around on the floor, doing nothing for the inmates, doing nothing for the caseload, files that hadn't been open. It's just he kind of laughed, and I said, "Okay." So I left. What do I know about writing a book? Fast forward, instead of getting writing the book, I got involved in a poker game. I learned to start playing poker, and a poker is not a poker game like where you go join your buddies, you guys smoke cigars, and you go to John's house to do it. Poker game was in the back of the showers with lookouts because poker's not allowed in prison. So we're in the back of the showers and back behind the showers, hidden out in a room with lookouts posted that if cops are coming, they come in and let everybody know. You take the stuff, and everybody runs in a different way. So we're playing poker. I'm playing poker for a couple of months. I win, and some guys decide they're not going to pay. That turned into an altercation. It landed me in solitary confinement for 15 months. So, and that was pretty quick. That was within the first I don't remember 2008, 10. Well, I guess it wasn't first couple of years, few years. So I'm in the solitary confinement now for 15 months. So and I'm fighting my appeals. So I call my attorney on a legal call. They come get you out. They put you in handcuffs. They cuff you through the door, put you in handcuffs, walk you to another room, lock you in. And there's a phone there. You talk to your attorney. They take you out, take you back to your room, cuff you up, take you back to your room, uncuff you, lock the steel door. You're in a 6x9 cement box that doesn't ever open. The door never opens unless it's like a legal call. So illegal. The attorney says, "Hey, what are you doing there all day long?" I said, "Nothing. All I do is read, 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 read. That's all there is to do." He said, "You should write a book about your life." He said, "What do I know about writing?" This is the second time. What do I know about
All
writing a
right.
book? So I still don't write a book. I continue to read, read. A little bit more time goes by. And in the hole, people call it the shoe, which is a special housing unit. It's called the hole. It's called the box. It's called the shoe. I always call it the hole. So I'm in the hole. Uh, one of the cops, one of the guys on the tier in his box sends over the USA Today newspaper to me. And the cop slides it underneath my door. I read it. Front page of the USA Today. Top 10 hardest things to do. Number 3 was writing a novel. I said, "Oh, I'm going to start writing a book." So I began actually that night. That very night, I started writing, and I get about 120 pages in, and I love it. I'm doing the Gemini thing. I'm creating. The chapters are different. It's all make believe. It's fiction. It's whatever I want to write. So I quickly discovered that I loved it. So I call home on the night. You get one call, one 15-minute call every 30 days. So on my next call home, I call Monica and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna write. Do me a favor, send me all the how-to books, how to write for dummies, how to publish, how everything about writing, how to create the perfect sentence. So you can get 5 books a week is all you could have sent into you." So she sends me a month's worth. I get 21 total how-to books. I read them all cover to cover. Every one of them said I was doing it the wrong way. You have to do this and you have to do that, and you need cue cards and you need this. And the hardest thing to do is get an agent. The hardest thing to do is complete it. And then it's super hard to get an agent. And then it's impossible to get a publisher, on and on and on. So I put the books down. I put them all on the book cart, donated them all to the library, and just continued writing. I was a reader. All I was doing is reading, and I mean, I was reading a book a day or a book every 2 days, and just to keep my mind off things. You're sitting there in a box. There's nothing to do. You have a sliver on a window that looks across at another room with a sliver of a window. You can't hear nobody. You can't talk. It's complete isolation. So I said I donated all those books and just kept doing what I was doing. I knew that the writing that I was doing sounded good. So anyway, I completed a book. I got out of the hole shortly thereafter. Went to the next prison. Got back into running around doing prison life. Kind of put the books to the side a little bit, but I picked them back up, and I ended up completing the first novel, which was at that time was called Wake of the Storm. So the next thing they said, "Oh, it's impossible to get an agent." I land an agent. It's impossible to get a publisher. I decided I wanted to do self-publishing. But in the meantime, when I got it all edited and I got everything the way I wanted it, gave it to the agent. He submitted it to a contest, which was the Benjamin Franklin Award or Benjamin Franklin contest. He submitted it without telling me. So I'm on the computer one day. There is, when I say computers, we have a text system that goes out. There is no internet. There is no research. There's none of that. You call home and can get research done in your 15-minute phone call, which you got 300 minutes a month, no matter what. You don't get not a single minute more. It's 300 minutes a month that you pay for. So it's 10 minutes a day. So I'd call and get some of the research. "Hey, send me this about this," or whatever. But so I'm on the computer that day and I'm typing chapters on the next book that I'm working on. And I get an email from the agent. "Hey, you just won the gold." And obviously I text back,
That
"I'm out of minutes."
particular, yeah, that award, I have guests who have been here before that have won that award. It's a big deal.
Yeah. So, and he didn't even, and I was going against 2,000 other authors who had research and had computers and had whatever they may have. They weren't, majority of them, I mean, if any, weren't in prison doing it the way I was doing it. So I realized that I won the gold, and immediately the very next day, I wrote that first book out of ego, just because everybody told me that, oh, it's the hardest thing to do. Oh, you should write a book.
Yeah.
So I didn't write it
When you
because I
said
loved
that
it.
earlier, I have to tell you, because I take a lot of notes while I'm listening, and I wrote down challenge accepted.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I heard from you.
And that's exactly what it was. So when I won that award, when I got that email, and of course, so the emails take, because they look at everything going in and out. So I was out of phone minutes, so I couldn't call the agent on the phone. I was stuck emailing. So I sent him an email. What are you talking about? Well, it takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to him. And then whenever he gets around to answering, it takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to get back in. So that was an all day thing. I ended up getting it back at like before lockdown at the end of the day. And he explains that I had won the gold. I had scored 4.7 out of 5. They knocked me the point 0.3 tenths of a point. They didn't like the cover, but they loved the writing. So I had already spent all the money to get it self-published. I'm on the shelves. We're getting ready to go. I pulled it off the shelves the very next day because I realized that I loved writing, and I realized that I wrote that first book just as accepting the challenge, that I didn't really put me into it. So I decided to take that book off, and I tore that after winning the award. I tore apart every single sentence of the entire book, turned it into what is now called the Mason Storm series, and book one is Taken by Storm. So I turned that one little book into a series, and or I made that book one of the series, and so fast forward, I get that series started. Now towards the end of my, or nearing the end of my prison stint, 2020, COVID hits, and I just needed the break. We get on lockdown. COVID was crazy for us in prison. It was crazy out here, I'm sure, but it was even crazier inside. The cops wore Martian suits. People died. They left them sitting. It was just prison locked in that. You think they dropped the ball out here in prison? They really dropped the ball. But so I got locked in a room again, and I wrote SNIFF. So fast forward, I write SNIFF. I get out of prison. I come into a wonderful agent in Kenatchity. I land a 7-book publishing deal. And
I have to say something about Ken Atchity very quickly. I have about 5 favorite people in the world. He's in the top 3.
yeah, nice. Yes, he is. He took a shot on me, and he gave me he got me a 5-book or a 7-book publishing contract, and they wanted SNIFF first. So SNIFF comes out in a couple of weeks, and they took the Mason Storm series, book one of that series. We're doing 2 series at the same time, which Ken said he's never done before. That this is the first time that they've seen this done. We're doing 2 series, one book one, and the next book of the first series, then back and forth, alternate. So the Mason Storm, the one that I won the award on that I wrote originally, that doesn't come out until March 1st. And then SNIFF, of course, comes out here in a couple of weeks or less, actually, about 11, 12 days. So that's how I got into
November
writing.
1st, I think, is what I
Yeah.
had written down.
Yes. Yes. It's actually, we opened it up now because so many friends and family and everybody were asking us if they could get it now. So we've opened it. You can actually get it on Amazon right now. But the actual launch date is November 1st.
And for anybody who wants to know who Ken Atchity is, his is an amazing story. He has been on my show multiple times, and he's a fascinating man. But if you have a book or a screenplay or any idea of what you need to do next, get in touch with Ken Atchity. Story Merchant. Go find him. Seriously. Okay, I'm done. I
Yeah.
have to tell him when you see him, give him a big old hug for me because I
And
love
I'll let
that
him know you
guy.
gave. Yep, and I'm
Yeah.
sure to let him know about the plug for sure. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
uh, he's pretty great. He's pretty
He
good.
is. He
Yeah.
really is. And I had I think it's his nephew, some kind of, I can't remember the relationship now, but He came on the show because he's now working with Ken Atchity, and he was one of the Rotten Tomatoes guys. He worked with them for a long,
Yeah.
long time. Fascinating family. But here's the thing. I'm in Southwest Louisiana. Ken was born about 60 miles away from me. So we have that in common. And I have all of his books on my shelves. Okay, keep going. Sorry about that.
I don't even know where. I think I answered the question, right? You said, "How did I get into writing?" Well, that's how I got into
Yeah.
it. It was
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah.
forced. It was a forced relationship, and well, I tell you, Denise, we getting 20. Had I taken the plea for 2 or 3 years, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd have never picked up the writing. A guy like me, I needed to have that 20 years hanging over my head. I need to be staring at the bottom of that bunk above me thinking about the 20 years in order for me to have done this. This wasn't, if I'd have gone for 2 or 3 years, I wouldn't have changed my life. I wouldn't have wrote books. I'd have gone and hung out and had fun and do all the crazy stuff in prison and been right back home.
See, no, that sounds right. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. But, but when you said, you were put in for 15 months, you were in solitary confinement. I was like, oh, I could do that. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a highly committed introvert. Nobody talk. No talking. Everybody shut up. Yeah, I get along just fine. You
It
put
took a
me in
minute
a
to
room with a
adjust.
bunch of people, I would be saying, I'm going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Now get me out of here.
Yeah. And that's what I went through those. I never realized because my life was so chaotic, and it's been that way my whole life. I never realized that I liked the solitude until it was forced on me. And then when I got back there and realized, hey, it's just me. Boy, you got, especially when you've never done it before and you never knew you liked it. There were days that you just, I'll be honest, there were just days I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. And then when I settled in and realized, hey, listen, get a grip of yourself. This is nothing. This too, I used to say all the time, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And sure enough, it did. And my life, because of it, I've never been married. I spent 51 years saying I would never get married. I watched enough divorces. I'll never get married. I'll never split half of my anything with anyone. Uh, I had this great big plan coming out and being this New York Times best-selling author and moving to the Caribbean, and then I ran into my best friend. It's unbelievable. It's just the way it. And I ended up married, and I have twins now, and I have a couple of bonus boys. She had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. I'm the exact opposite person that I was when I went into prison. Exit. There's nothing outside of physical features that are the same. There's nothing else. I'm wired different. I think different. I appreciate different. I'm completely different. Had I not had that 20 years, I'm confident in saying I would not be who I am today. There's no way.
And
I was just headed down the wrong path.
who you're reminding me of is Nelson Mandela.
He wrote some great books.
He did, but he also didn't let it get him down. I mean, he was pretty much going to be in there forever and ever.
Yeah,
Amen. And although I do think it fundamentally changed him in some ways, he never got bitter or angry. He just became the best Nelson Mandela he could become.
yeah. Yeah, there's a certain thing, either you do it or you don't. The, people say all the time, you hear the cliche, a tiger never changes his stripes, or a leopard never the print or spots, whatever it is. And it's true. I realized that what it took, I know who I am as an individual. I know how much heart, blood, and sweat and tears that I'll put into something, and it's more often than not, more times a week, people talk about my work ethic than they talk about anything else. So that carries through in everything in my life. I do my work to extreme, and anything I do it to the extreme. So changing, it took all of that, and it took all of me to be a different person. This isn't just something that happens and that you just go and you do it the next day. This is something that took all of me, and it's true. It's there aren't very many people that can change their stripes, and I don't say that in a braggart and it's such a non egotistical statement. It's just I know who I am and I know what I put into being a different person. And most people just don't put that kind of effort into anything. So most people don't make that change. So when I tell people, if you spoke to the people in my life today and you talked, if they were, and I told this to the judge in a recent motion, if he was to speak to people in my life today and tell them the stories of who I used to be, you'd never convince a room full of people of that. Never. You couldn't do it. You couldn't convince these people. You just couldn't do it. I am 100%, but it took everything, and I still work at it. It's still, I mean, it's what do they say about alcoholics? You're an alcoholic for your entire life. You're just one drink away. It's the same with me. I'm just one. I have to get up every day and say, I go to bed at night. Listen, how can I be better tomorrow? And I wake up every day, and now I wake up with the kids, the 3-year-old and 6-year-old, and it's immediate. The first thing after the family hug, the first thing we talk about goals and what we're doing today. And it's
They
a
need to know that.
oh man, it's a little Liam leaves at school for school at 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning, and the last thing we talk about, they have the he's a kid, so it's for him, he has to get in the clouds. The clouds is the top of the chart where his yellow is like hey, listen, you're having a rough day. Red is in trouble, then it's blues and purples, and then it's the clouds. And when he walks out that day, out of this room or out of this house every day, it's a high five, it's a hug. Hey, listen, getting that blues, getting those clouds today, getting those clouds today. And that's what he walks around and says, and it's unbelievable. He wasn't that kid before I got here. He was still a good kid, but when you're going back and forth between two different households and dad has no rules and dad really didn't teach the boys anything and dad was abusive to mom and all that kind of stuff, he just he wasn't that kid. So when I first got into these boys' lives, it was the report all the time from the teacher to Carla, hey, listen, Liam's having this trouble. Hey, Liam's doing this, and hey, Liam. Now it's every week. It's unbelievable the reports that we get now. The kid lands in the clouds 3 out of 5 days a week, and the days that he doesn't land in the clouds, he lands in the color below it. There are no more yellows, and there are no more reds, and there are no more of those colors. The kid, it's unbelievable when you set your mind to something and you start your day, whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, it doesn't matter. When you set the goal to have a day, to have whatever that goal may be, and you work at that, man, you can make it. You can make it for sure. I'm watching it play out live in my life and in a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old's life.
Here's the thing, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate this in a way that makes sense. It's fine in my head, but that doesn't always translate. Often it doesn't. But here's the thing about your own leadership, your own principles. If you're not standing up for your own principles, if you're not meeting your own principles, what the heck are you doing?
Right. Right. And that's what I was doing. That's what I'd done my whole life.
Yeah.
And it took
Yeah,
that bottom of that bunk to realize. I just never realized.
we all do it. We don't know because we're busy, we're running around. Look, I am a highly committed introvert. That is no joke. I like people just fine for 59 and 3/4 minutes. I've timed it. I got to go now. Everybody, no talking. I'm leaving. And I'm not shy and I don't have any filters, but I am in my own head a lot.
Yeah.
And I find, and I'm listening to you going, yeah, done that, because I get so caught up in my own story, in my own thought processes that I'll just get stuck in a loop. And
Yes.
once I catch myself doing that, I have to shake it off. And I know that's a stupid song, but I do have to shake it off and go do something different. But I don't just go do something different. I have to really meticulously plan what my next different is because if I don't, it won't get done.
Right.
But you have to know yourself, is what I'm hearing from you.
You
Know
have to.
yourself. And you said something too earlier that, people don't change their spots or their stripes. Well, no, but we can do like you do and scrape off the crap and see
Yes.
what's underneath it.
Yep. Yep. And I don't mean that people don't. I just mean the cliche. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it.
truer. It's
Yeah.
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 It takes a
You're under there. Sometimes you just need to scrape at it and say, been there, done it. Oh, that sucked. Been there. Oh, that wasn't so bad.
yeah,
Or Denise, what the heck were you thinking? I do that one a lot. But it's just if you scrape and scrape and scrape and what is the statue of David? Michelangelo, I think it was. He had this giant piece of marble and he just scraped,
yeah,
chipped a little bit at a time until this absolute masterpiece emerged. He didn't just hit it with a sledgehammer and say, well, that didn't work.
right, right. It's a great analogy.
Yeah, you have to keep chipping away at who you are, who you think you are, and what's your next move. I mean, you can be, I believe, pretty much anything you want to be, but you have to know what that be is. Who do I want to be? What am I underneath all of this decade, 2 decades, 70 decades of just where am I in there? Did I get lost? Am I still in there? You have to chip away.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. It's definitely not an overnight process.
No,
It
no,
took
and it shouldn't be.
no, it took me 10 years. It took me 10 years. I started it at about
You started paying attention and then you, like I said earlier, challenge accepted.
yeah, sure did. I used to write myself notes, so I'd be writing in my bunk at night after the prison would shut down and it was quiet. I'd lay in my bunk and I'd work on my books and I'd get a thought in my head about what I needed to do different. I'd write it. I used to write little notes to myself up in the right hand corner of my chapters because I knew I would see those notes again because I'd go back over these chapters over and over and over and over and it became repetition and that became part of my routine to write myself notes on the upper right hand corner of my writing because I knew you're going to see this over and over and over and over and that's exactly what happened and it was part of the it's definitely attributed to my to transformation for sure.
Ask you, you saying you would write little notes. I'm guessing that you weren't able to print these in prison, that you hand wrote your books, or am I just guessing?
I did. No, I hand wrote everything. Here's a funny story. So all the everybody knows that you have commissary in prison. They'll give you X amount of money that your family can. I think it was 360, 290. When I first got in prison, it was $290. Your family could send you $290 a month, and you shopped at the prison store. You get beans and logs and all stuff that you can cook with 190-degree water, soups and that kind of stuff. All terrible foods. Anyway, they sell notepads but the prison that where I was, which was up in Ohio, was out. They never stocked the notebooks ever. They were out all the time, and it's the only place you could get the paper from. The counselors wouldn't give you any. They got tired of passing out. They quit giving it to inmates because they were going through all their typing paper and just nobody had paper. So I started. You could buy two saltine cracker boxes a week of the crackers. So I started trade, and you could only buy two. I started trading my coffees and the logs. I would buy them people whatever they wanted, and it come to 360. It was $1.80 a box. So I'd go around to 8 or 10 different people, and I'd give them 360 off of my list. Whatever they wanted off mine, you just had to get me two saltine box crackers, and I'd get all these boxes every week. And I would take a razor, and I would open the box, and I'd take a razor, and I'd cut down one of the edges, and I'd turn it in. I wrote more than half of my first book on saltine cracker boxes on the inside of saltine cracker boxes because they had no paper. So I was dedicated to writing.
No kidding. Do you still
Yeah,
have those boxes?
I do have those boxes, and
Hang on to those are
yeah,
going to be in a museum one day.
yeah, the we just said there's so many things that I wish that looking back now, uh, that I would have realized that I could have kept. If I would have realized that I should have kept a lot of what I kept. But the problem is you only have a locker that all your belongings, shoes, your uniforms that they give you, your clothes, and your food, everything has to fit in your locker. And if it doesn't, cops walk by your room during the day whenever your room is supposed to be tip top. If they walk by and you got stuff hanging out on the desk or your bed, or they'll throw it away. They trash your room. So a lot of that stuff I had to get rid of because I just didn't have room for it. Had I known that the book stuff was going to turn into what it is now, I'd have saved all those and just sent them home because I literally wrote, and I even wrote SNIFF when I was in the hole at a different prison, and in the hole because we were on lockdown because of the COVID. Um, when I was in there, they ran out of paper. So I wrote on all kinds of stuff in there. And I wrote on the spare pages on the inside of the Bible. The spare pages that are in the back and the front. I wrote on those pages. I wrote on saltine cracker boxes. I wrote on anything I could get my hands on. I wished I'd have just saved all that stuff. Because now I look back and tell the story, man, it'd be great to have that framed somewhere. And I do have some of it. I kept a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
it would. I wanted to ask you, that's an amazing story. Listen, I read everything. Your book is in here. In this office, I've got 3 bookshelves and they're stuffed full.
Yeah.
Every single book in here was gifted to me by my guests, people like you. Those books never go away. They're here for the duration. They were gifted to me. I've read them. I review them. Now I'm starting to stack them underneath the chair. I'm
Yeah.
running out. I'm going to need a bigger house. But the thing is, I'm like you. I will read anything. I write to myself all the time. The other day, I would, and your kids might like this. I don't know. I, I I get a lot of what I call God winks, mostly when I'm in the shower. It's hot. My shower is hot enough to steam broccoli. I'm relaxed. I mean, I'm not thinking about anything. And all of a sudden I start getting these downloads. I don't know if they're coming from God, spirit, my subconscious. I don't know where they're coming from, but I can tell the ones if I hear myself in my mind say, okay, Denise, we can do this. I know that that's a God wink. If I hear myself say, oh, I'm going to do this, that's ego, discard it. But I kept losing these brilliant, brilliant thoughts and even phrases. So I bought bathtub crayons. And when I go into my shower, I go in there with my bathtub crayons. And as soon as the fog dissipates in that room, I go take pictures of it, wipe it down. I've got a clean shower and off I go. So
Yeah.
give your kids some bathtub crayons. I'm telling you.
That's a pretty good idea. Yeah. In fact, for sure. For sure.
We are running out of time. And what I really wanted to ask you, and I distracted myself with bathtub crayons, is that it doesn't take much. It's easy to get myself off of track.
Me
What
too.
are what are some of your goals moving forward? You've got a new family. We've talked about that. And tell me about Up Cup Coffee. What is that?
So we couple of friends. So I came out and with the intentions of writing the books, and I've always been somewhat of a fit guy. I've always eaten healthy. I've always done the working out thing, and I did that before prison my whole life. So I said I was going to do a fat loss shake or some kind of health shake when I came out. Well, when you're inside for 16 years and you're buried from anything going on out in the world, I didn't realize that the health industry had grown to what it's grown to. And so I get out and I realize that it would take millions and millions and millions of dollars to create and put out a shake or whatever it might be. It would take tons of money and tons of time just to get noticed. So in the meantime, I was taking all of these supplements and the shilajits and the lion's manes and the moringa powders and all these different things that I live by that I could not take while in prison. And I'm putting them every day into my coffee because the taste is so bad that you just can't put them on your tongue. So I was just burying in my coffee and slamming the coffee and being done for the day, go brush my teeth, and I've got all my stuff inside. So that turned into, hey, let's find a chemist with 2 other ex-felons who I met along the way. And just to give you an idea, the guys in prison, I kept about 5 guys' information and names and numbers in 17 years. So not a lot of guys doing the right things, not a lot of guys coming out with the same goals and the same mindset. These 2 guys, Alex Diaz and Dr. William MacArthur III, same goals, same aspirations, same work ethic as me. Fast forward, we got together, hired a chemist, hired a team of chemists, a coffee expert, and came up with a healthy, functional mushroom coffee, which is just unbelievable. We've signed a deal with the largest manufacturer distributor in North America. We launch on Black Friday. Up Cup Coffee. The website is Up Cup Coffee with a K. Uh, it's incredible, but that's launching. So at the same time, I got two book series. I got Twins, New Marriage, and the Up Cup Coffee. Up Cup is going to be great.
I put mushroom in my coffee. I don't really drink coffee, but I put it in my tea, and I like it so much I give it to my feline office assistants. It helps them, it really does.
Oh, listen, that's
And I
if
happen to like the taste. I mean,
yeah,
I'm one of those weird people. I won't put anything sweet anywhere near. I don't like sugar. I hate it.
yeah,
And
me
I
too.
don't like chocolate. People say, "Do you shop?" Not really. It comes to my door. So,
Yeah.
but I am a girl. I am a female. But I love mushroom coffee, mushroom anything, and people say, "Oh my God, it tastes nasty." I don't find that it does at all.
Oh, it's terrible. It tastes terrible, which is why we hired the chemist. Ours is brewed. It's not an instant,
Oh,
and it actually tastes like a good cup of coffee. Which is why the guys that have signed on to us love us, and we'll actually be on. We'll be the first mushroom company to hit stores nationwide, to include Targets, Walmart's, Costco's, all the food, all everywhere. We'll be on the nation on shelves nationwide. End of quarter 1, beginning of quarter 2 of next year. Online release Black Friday
well,
to
I've got to
15
try
different
that
places.
coffee.
Well, I'm going to send you a bag. We'll get you a bag out today, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
and it tastes. It's unbelievable. And there's no jitters. There's no crash. There's no.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
incredible. It's
See,
incredible. We
I've
have
never been really
anti-aging.
a coffee drinker. I do love tea, but when I do drink coffee, I put my mushroom, the
Yeah,
lion's mane
mushrooms
and all of
unbelievable.
that in there because I don't think it tastes bad. But a friend of mine said, "What is that?" And I handed her my cup. She's, "Oh my God." I said, "Oh, I should have warned you because she sugars everything." And I'm like, "Mm."
Yeah.
So she said, "What the heck was that?" And I was explaining. She goes, "I would love to try it, but how can I sweeten it?" So I'll tell her about Upcup Coffee.
Yeah, and we've got way more in there than just the lion's mane. Like I said, we got Shilajit in there. It's been around for 4,000 years. We've got
Right.
some NAD plus in there, which is some anti-aging energy. Uh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And we're actually, don't tell anybody, but we're gonna come out with a tea shortly here, not long from now.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
love tea. I
yeah.
mean, I've been a tea drinker all of my life, and I live in the deep south, and people would say, "Do you have sweet tea?" No. Get out of my house. You cannot bring your own sugar. I don't have any. So I hate that stuff. I mean, if I taste sugar, ketchup, what the heck is that? You take a perfectly lovely tomato and stick a sugar cube in it. That's not right. I'm sorry. That's okay. I'm off my soapbox now. Okay. So listen, tell before we close, and I hate to do this, but we're out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience? And where can people connect with you and find your books?
Well, okay, so GC Brown for Gregory Claude. GCBrownBooks.com has got, you can find everything there, the newsletters, all the socials. There's links to buy the book. You can find it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search GC Brown SNIFF, and it pops right up. It's supposed to be released on November 1st, but we've gone ahead and we've got so many people asking for it, that they just went ahead and opened at least the Amazon arm now. You can get the paperback there. I believe you can get the hardback there. No, you can't. You can get the paperback there, and you can get the ebook there right now today. It's called Sniff. All the socials are either GC Brown or GC Brown Books, one or the other. They're all connected from the website. Between the Blaine Group doing the PR work, and the Hyde Virtual Agency in Texas doing all of the social media management, they've got me everywhere. It's hard not to find me. But the book's fiction. It's fun. It's fast paced. It's definitely going to top that bestseller list. We're thinking. I believe it. The writing's there. The book is there. The story there. The plot's there. All kinds of characters in it. All the characters were in prison. So I looked around and, like I said, it's fiction, but it's so hard. Or it's so easy to find characters in federal prison. Everybody is there. So the book
They're
is
all innocent, every one of them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody will tell. Everybody will say that. Except some of the guys. A lot of I mean, there's lifers there. I mean, Denise, it's everybody. It's the world's most. It's federal prison. It's not state. It's federal. So it's drug lords and politicians and billionaires and
Whoa, 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 whoa. Drug lords and politicians. There's no difference for
yeah.
me. Yeah, you could have said one or the other and I'd
One or
buy
the
it.
other would cover both.
Yeah.
Mobsters.
Yep.
Uh, Yeah, they're all there. They're all there. So the plethora of characters, but Sniff is a fun, wild read. I wrote it during COVID, during lockdown, and without tooting my own horn, it's pretty incredible. I'm anxious to see people read it. I'm anxious to see the reviews. And by the way, the reviews that are on, with the exception of two that are on there right now, are people I don't know. So it's not like I've got family and friends going on there leaving the reviews I want them to leave. The book is it's readable. People are gonna love it. People I know they are. They're
I
talking
wrote
about
my review,
stuff.
but it's Amazon takes a while for it to show up. So,
Yeah.
but once it's there, I'll send it to you. And I have to tell you, I've got, I can't believe we're in the winter holidays almost. This year has gone so fast, but I've got people coming for Halloween. We call it gumbo. I mean, we call it, body part stew because I love to cook and I make this huge pot of body part stew. It's gumbo, but that's what it is. And I was telling my best friend and her brother about this book. He's like, "Can I borrow it?" And I said, "If you bring it back, because you didn't bring the last one back." "Oh, it's in my truck. It better be." I was threatening him. "You will not get gumbo unless that book arrives." So I'm telling you right now. But he's just like, "I want to borrow it. I want to borrow it." I said, "Okay." And I hate loaning books, but I know where he lives, so I'll
Yeah,
go get it if I
and I
have
think I
to.
sent you a couple anyway. I think you're gonna end up with two
Yeah,
anyway.
you did. The
Yeah.
other one isn't here yet, but this one did show up over the weekend, thank goodness. But listen, everybody, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just been a pleasure having you on the show. And it sounds like you're going to be back again sometime soon. You've got a lot more to share. So if you would, and I have to ask you this on the radio because you can't tell me no, would you come back in the new year?
Oh, I would. Are you kidding me? I'd love to.
Okay,
I,
good. See,
of
that's the
course.
proper response.
Yeah, are you kidding me? This has been one of my favorite ones so far. Normally,
Oh,
it's all book related, and it's kind of I'll tell the story about the book, and the real story is the story about how the book got to where it is.
that's exactly right. And that's what I was trying to get out of you. And I warned you about that in the green room. It's yes, we're going to talk about the book, but people really want to know your story. And you shared it beautifully. So listen to our audience, and I'll send you, by the way, I'll give you a call later on today and I will send you a link so you can pick you and Adam. And you mentioned the Blaine group, Devin Blaine.
It's,
I have to tell you, Devin Blaine is one of my that's how I met Ken Atchity.
yes,
She, I blame her, and she probably told you this. I
she's
blame Devin from me going from Fridays only to now Mondays and Fridays because she sends me so many fantastic guests that I would have to book you 6 months out, and that's just not acceptable. So
isn't she
Devin,
great? She's great.
yes,
She's
she's
great.
one of my favorite people. Her and Ken, and I mean, just it's not hard to love people like that. But I will tell anybody who listens, she did this to me. This is
And
her
she and
fault.
she told me you would say that. She told me you would say
Yeah, I'm so predictable. So
that.
anyway, to our audience, and we are running out of time, and I don't want to have this thing cut off on me. As we conclude today's episode, it's evident that G.C. Brown's commitment to writing has been a powerful means of coping with his circumstances and expressing himself creativity. And his journey shows us just how writing can serve as an outlet or catharsis for thoughts and emotions. allowing one to envision a brighter future beyond confinement. And his transformative experience has reshaped his identity and purpose, leading to the publication of his works, a new family, new babies, new business, all kinds of things. He didn't just sit in prison and say, "Woe is me." He got busy. Challenge accepted. And his story beautifully illustrates how adversity can catalyze personal transformation. And I'm going to say it again, inspire new beginnings. So thank you for joining us today. And we hope GC's journey inspires you as much as it has inspired me. And if you enjoyed this episode and found his insights as enlightening as I did, and he will be coming back, I'd love for you to take a moment to hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Why? Because your thoughts not only help me improve, but it also allows me to reach more listeners who are eager to learn. And be sure to connect with G.C. Brown Books on his social media platforms. Thank you so much for your support. And let's keep the conversation going. And I will see you next week. GC, thank you. It has been delightful chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. We'll do it again.
Yes, can't wait.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.